Driving a Koenigsegg is
exhilarating, scary.
It's a violent car. Squadron is actually an Air Force squadron. Koenigseggs are built in the facilities where the Ghost Squadron used to reside. You know, when 5 or 6 Koenigseggs are together, people will refer to it, oh look, the Ghost Squadron is moving around.
Jeffrey Chang, we call him Mr. Logistics. He'll run around and says, hey, we're gonna be late. If you're not here by 10 a.m., we're out of here, you're gone.
Everyone knows where it is. You know what it is, right? Lead them down there. I'm gonna go check the situation out.
Jeffrey's the organizer.
Jeffrey is the master of planning.
My very first car was a Datsun 200SX. It had a digital dash, which was just really cool for that period of time, and that was in the mid-80s. I went from a 200SX to a 300ZX. I actually traded in that 300ZX for a used Porsche 911. I even had an F40, an F50, a Celine S7 twin turbo, all very powerful, well-known cars. And the Koenigsegg is different from all of them. It was the first Koenigsegg in Southern California and remained that way for a number of years until the last couple of years. Well, the Instagram king in this group is...
By accident.
Accidentally on purpose.
Yeah, accidentally on purpose.
Dan's kind of the instigator.
Dan and I have been friends for a number of years.
You know, this is like that movie where the cowboys have their long jackets and you see that distance and they're walking slow.
Jeffrey, we're not that cool. Come on. My very first car was a 1964 Bug. It cost me, I think, $150 because it didn't run. In fact, by the time I got to run, I didn't really have a seat, so I used a milk crate box. I was able to meet Mark at a car show in 2017. Young gentleman, he looks older than he is. He could be my third child in my family if you want to calculate age differences.
My first car was actually a Dodge Challenger, 2013 SRT8. My dad actually had a 1972 Dodge Challenger back in Beirut. That was his first car. All the bullet holes in it and knife gashes in it. And I did so much research on the Challenger and I became obsessed with that car. After meeting Dan is when that friendship, became dangerous because, he gets you involved with all the mega cars now, like Pagani and Koenigsegg and the high-end McLarens, and I started collecting Paganis as well, and just recently took delivery of my Koenigsegg. You get used to kind of the high-end lifestyle when you're around people like Dan, Mark, and Jeffrey. I mean, they have to do everything to the best of the best. Baller status.
Mark said he's just a real down-to-earth person. He's the token patriarch. He'll tell us the stories of the old days, and that's what keeps the humor within the system.
We're all jokers. I mean, it's a fun group to be around. Nobody takes themselves very seriously here, and I bring a little color to the organization. My dad had a 59 Porsche convertible, red with a black roof and a rack on the back. And so that's my first memory of a car that really excited me. My first real performance car was a Mustang, a 67 Mustang with a 390 in it. That car was a lot of fun. I did manage here and there to have some fun cars. I had an 89 930 turbo slant nose convertible that was a lot of fun, but the car payment was more than my house payment at the time, and so that didn't last very long. When we talk hypercar, the CCX was my first. One of the things with those cars, with the CCX, with the Agera, I have never actually rolled all the way to the floor with the accelerator because there's just not a place to do that. Yeah, these guys, Dan and Jeffrey and Mark, they're all car enthusiasts, and so we have that in common, but they're also just great guys. Everybody's entrepreneurial. There's not a lot of fear or a lot of, I better not do this or I better not do that. We're all kind of risk takers, and it's a great group to be around. Without Dan and Jeffrey, I wouldn't have the car.
just took delivery of the Koenigsegg Agera RS Vader Final Edition 1 of 2.
Those are the end of an era of the Agera RS era.
These final editions were very bespoke and will never be remade again. So that's just an incredible experience to be able to say that we own the last 2 cars that were rolled off the assembly line. What's the name?
Vader.
What?
Vader?
I didn't hear it. What?
Vader?
Okay.
Better than Thor.
Yeah.
You know, they all have these Norse mythology names because of Sweden, and you know, it's Thor, it's Ragnarok, it's, you know, Vader, and they go, Mark, what's the name of your car? I go, it doesn't have a name. It's got to have a name. I go, great, it's Ruthie. And then they won't let it go now.
The other Koenigsegg would be the Agera. That was the first car delivered to the US. We named it Cherry Bomb because of the color. Draken, which is an Agera RS.
Driving a Koenigsegg is really unlike driving any other car. The engineering, the performance, the brutal speed. In a positive way, it's a violent car.
See everyone's neck break and ask, what is that car? What is this? And then you see 11 of them behind, you know, one another, you know, going through tunnels, revving and just popping like crazy.
Nothing like rolling into a throttle and just feeling that push in your back, or hitting that corner and hitting the apex and feeling the G-forces going sideways, and knowing that you're doing something that evolution or nature didn't intend your body to do.
Exhilarating, roller coaster, scary. Those are the best descriptions possible. It likes to play with you, it likes to go. It's scary going 200 miles an hour in this thing. Whether you're a passenger or the driver, you get the same feeling of that free fall, you know, going into a loop or dropping where your heart sinks and it just takes off.
Everyone goes, how fast does the car go? I say, well, how fast does it stop first? And then you'll tell you that's as fast as you want to go. When you do hit a turn where you want to make sure that you have the confidence to make that turn, there's no other tire besides Michelin. It's amazing to see these cars all lined up.
To go there, land and see about, what, 10 Koenigseggs sitting there on the tarmac was incredible. Didn't hurt that we had in and out on the flight too.
Christian von Koenigsegg, the designer, inventor of the vehicle, you know, the legend in himself. Incredible, humble person.
Well, I have to pinch myself, I guess. You know, it's unbelievable in many ways.
We'll be at car shows or at events, and you know, whether it's a 12-year-old kid coming up and asking him, what made you think about making a car, all the way to people who know nothing about cars, and he'll never talk down to them. He'll just explain to them and speak to them at a level that they understand.
Christian wants his cars to be outright performance monsters. There will never be anything on a Koenigsegg that does not have a purpose. And that was a quote directly from him.
So should we talk a little bit about setting a world record out in the desert? When I first met Christian and I asked him what the top speed was on the Agera RS, and he said, theoretical 275. And I said, well, why theoretical? He said, because we don't have a place that we can run that car. We don't have a long enough straightaway or a safe enough track that we can actually test it for top speed. That immediately piqued my interest, because I like to know what things do. I like to know how the world works. I have a natural curiosity.
The high-speed run, it would have never been done unless it was Jeffrey Chang. He was pushing the state of Nevada. He was pushing the people that could make it happen to the end point. And one day he says, okay, this is the date. We're all going and we're gonna go break the record. Honestly, even Christian was like, are we really doing this?
From Pahrump, Nevada to Vegas, there's a stretch of highway that has about an 11-mile straightaway. It's not flat, but it's straight. And the road surface is in very good condition. And we'd always joked about how it would be great to see how fast a Koenigsegg could go on this particular highway. And Mark was generous enough to offer his car to make this world record attempt, because no way I was going to offer my car. And I don't think Dan was ready to step up and offer his car, but you know, there's a lot of risk involved.
I think there was 3 guys from Koenigsegg and the 2 guys from Michelin, and they had to test them on an aircraft testing machine because they don't make a passenger car machine that'll spin a tire at 300 miles an hour. At that 300 miles an hour or 270, that the tire valve, the valve stem, has an equivalent mass of like 107 pounds. I mean, a blowout at those speeds, or I mean, it would just be catastrophic.
So we ran an additional probably three more runs at top speed on the same set of tires. That was a monumental feat.
The tires performed excellent.
Single highlight would probably have to be this afternoon, taking God knows how many Koenigseggs through In-N-Out drive-through, which was fun, and eating a double-double and some fries and a shake right off the wing of my car.
The Exotics on Cannery Row is a phenomenal show simply because it's open to the public.
What's so nice about it is it's really a moving car show for a week, and you have all types of cars and all types of car people in a great setting, usually with great weather. So how can you go wrong, right?
For me, I love Cannery Row because that's the people show. That's the people that, those are the people that just love cars. They just get so excited to be able to see it, come up close to it. And it feels like you're at the zoo and the cages are all open. I imagined it was probably what the Beatles felt like. The crowds are just cheering and pressing in and taking pictures. And again, for a lot of them, they've heard of these cars. They've never actually seen one.
These kids or these people who are on social media is our XYZ generation. They don't have $800 to get into the Quell event, nor do they have a hat to wear into the event.
Like putting a little honey out there and watching the bees come,
It's surreal. I mean, look at all these people. They're just here because they love cars.
This is one of my highlights because this is the people show.
Oh, I mean, I've enjoyed it all, hanging out with a good group of guys, driving the cars. Growing up, you never thought you'd be here, owning these cars, and you hear about them, you see about them, but to really be an owner of one of them and to display it with 25,000 people, I'm guesstimating, is truly surreal, and it's incredible, and it's unreal.
My lifetime business experience has taught me that if you're chasing a self-serving outcome, it's hard to get there. If you'll let go of that and look for ways to serve others, that the universe is pretty kind and rewarding. And that as you just look for opportunities to serve and say, okay, what assets, what resources do I have, and how could what I have bless somebody else's life, and giving someone that doesn't have as much opportunity a chance.
And for them to really enjoy something and give them motivation of someday saying, hey, I want to own this. We were all at that place at one time in our lives.
There are a lot of people that are held back because nobody's ever told them that they could do more. And if we can do something to help open that up and help people to believe in their own abilities and their own capacity, that's what brings me joy in life, is watching people succeed.
My goal is, how can we turn these assets that are there to do good for as many as we can?
It's about giving back and helping out where we can, and we do the best we can with that. We've had a number of charity events already last year, and we have more planned for this year. It allows us to use our passion for something positive.